Dr. Sarah Chen was drinking her third cup of coffee when every screen in the Arecibo Observatory Replacement Facility lit up with the same impossible message. Not in English, not in any human language. But somehow, every person who looked at those alien symbols understood them perfectly. The Terran system is now claimed by the Valerian Empire. Tribute is required. Compliance is mandatory. Resistance is extinction. Sarah's coffee mug shattered on the concrete floor. Around the world, similar scenes played out in observatories, military bases, and living rooms. The alien text burned itself into human consciousness, carrying with it an unmistakable certainty. Earth had just received its death sentence. But the aliens had made one critical error in their cosmic arrogance. They had given humanity a choice. Chapter 1. The Weight of Worlds. 3 days after the message, the emergency session of the United Nations Security Council felt like a funeral service for 8 billion people. Secretary General Maria Santos stood before the assembly, her usually perfect composure cracking like ice under pressure. The translation of the alien message now covered every wall screen in crystalline clarity, each word a nail in humanity's coffin. The Valerian Empire demands tribute from Earth within one solar rotation of their home world, she announced, her voice steady despite the tremor in her hands. According to our best calculations, that gives us approximately 14 Earth days. General Harrison Pike, the grizzled head of the Global Defense Initiative, slammed his fist on the mahogany table. Tribute? What kind of tribute are we talking? About here, resources, technology. Dr. Elena Vasquez, Earth's leading xenolinguist, consulted her tablet with shaking fingers. The specifics arrived in the second transmission 6 hours ago. They want... She paused, swallowing hard. They want 1 billion human beings, alive, for what they term integration into the Empire's workforce. The chamber erupted in shocked murmurs and angry shouts. Santos raised her hand for silence, but her face had gone pale as parchment. 1 billion people, repeated Ambassador Liu Wei from China, his diplomatic training the only thing keeping his voice level. They're asking us to hand over 1/8 of our entire population. They're not asking, corrected Dr. Vasquez. The message structure indicates this is a demand, not a negotiation. The Valerian Empire has apparently done this to 47 other worlds. Those who complied became tributary states. Those who refused... She gestured helplessly. The orbital bombardment patterns suggest complete planetary sterilization. General Pike's weathered face darkened. What do we know about their military capabilities? Dr. Chen, who had been silent until now, finally spoke up from her position at the scientific advisory panel. The energy signature of their transmission alone required more power than our entire global grid produces in a year. And that was just to send a message across interstellar space. She activated the holographic display at the center of the chamber. A 3-dimensional representation of the solar system appeared, with several red dots moving inward from the outer edge. These are their ships, Sarah continued. Long-range telescopes detected them 4 hours ago. Conservative estimates put the nearest vessel at roughly the size of Manhattan. There are at least 12 of them, possibly more hidden behind sensor shadows. The silence that followed was deafening. President Jennifer Morrison of the United States leaned forward. How long until they reach Earth? 13 days, 18 hours, Sarah replied. They're not trying to hide their approach. If anything, they seem to want us to see them coming. Santos closed her eyes for a moment, then opened them with grim determination. We need options. Military, diplomatic, scientific, everything. General Pike stood up, his uniform crisp despite the weight of the world pressing down on his shoulders. Ma'am, I've been in contact with every military leader on the planet. Our combined nuclear arsenal might scratch the paint on one of those ships. Conventional weapons would be like throwing pebbles at a battleship. What about evacuation? Suggested Ambassador Liu. If we can't fight them, perhaps we can run. Dr. Vasquez shook her head. Our fastest ships can barely reach Mars. Where would we go? And even if we could reach another star system, these aliens clearly have faster-than-light travel. They could hunt us down anywhere in the galaxy. The chamber fell silent again. the weight of humanity's helplessness settling over them like a shroud. Then Dr. Chen cleared her throat. "There might be another option," she said quietly. All eyes turned to her. Santos leaned forward. "What kind of option?" Sarah hesitated, glancing around the room at faces filled with desperate hope. "It's not a solution exactly. More like a message." General Pike frowned. "What kind of message?" "The kind that tells the universe exactly what happens when you threaten humanity." Orcs Chapter 2. The Fire of Defiance. The project began in secret, scattered across 12 different locations on 6 continents. Dr. Chen had insisted on compartmentalization. If the aliens were monitoring human communications, they wouldn't see the full picture until it was too late. In a converted missile silo in North Dakota, Colonel Jessica Torres supervised the installation of experimental propulsion systems that had been theoretical just a week ago. The best minds from NASA, SpaceX, and every other space agency had worked around the clock to make the impossible merely improbable. "Dr. Chen, you need to see this," called out Dr. Pavel Kozlov, the Russian physicist who had somehow managed to weaponize a peaceful fusion reactor in less than 4 days. Sarah hurried over to where Pavel stood beside a console covered in warning lights. "What's the problem?" "Not problem. Solution." Pavel's English was heavily accented but precise. "I have found way to increase yield by factor of 12. Sarah blinked. "Pavel, we've already got enough firepower to glass half a continent. We don't need more yield." The Russian scientist's grin was sharp as a blade. "Duh, but we need message to carry farther. Much farther." Before Sarah could ask what he meant, alarms began blaring throughout the facility. Colonel Torres's voice echoed over the intercom. "All personnel to stations. We've got incoming transmission from the aliens." They rushed to the main communications array where dozens of technicians were already working frantically at their stations. On the central screen, alien symbols were forming, their meaning burning directly into human consciousness. Your compliance. Period is shortened. Prepare 1 billion subjects for transport in 7 rotations. Failure to comply will result in immediate sterilization. They moved up the deadline, Torres said grimly. "We've got 7 days instead of 14. Sarah felt ice in her veins, but her voice remained steady. "How long until the package is ready?" Pavel consulted his tablet. "If we skip final safety protocols, 3 days. "Skip them." Torres raised an eyebrow. "Doc, those safety protocols exist for a reason. Without them we might blow ourselves up," Sarah interrupted. "With them, the aliens will definitely blow us up. I know which odds I prefer." Another technician called out from across the room. "Dr. Chen, we're receiving multiple transmissions from the alien fleet. They're broadcasting to each other." Sarah's pulse quickened. "Can we decode them?" "Working on it now. The linguistic patterns are similar to their demands, but more complex. Military communications, maybe tactical assessments." Dr. Vasquez hurried into the room, her tablet clutched in her hands. "Sarah, I've been analyzing the aliens' previous conquests. There's a pattern." "What kind of pattern?" Elena activated the room's holographic display, showing a 3-dimensional map of local stellar space. Dozens of star systems were marked with different colored indicators. Red indicates completely sterilized worlds, the ones that refuse to pay tribute. Yellow indicates tributary states still under Valyrian control. She paused, highlighting a cluster of blue dots. "And blue indicates something very interesting." Sarah studied the map. "What am I looking at?" "Dead zones. Star systems where the Valyrian Empire used to have a presence, but suddenly stopped all activity. No tributaries, no military posts, no communication relays. Just nothing." Colonel Torres frowned. "What happened to them?" "That's what I've been trying to figure out. I've managed to decode fragments of older Valyrian transmissions, archived in radio telescope data from the past century. They mentioned something called the warning." Sarah felt a chill that had nothing to do with the underground facility's air conditioning. "What warning?" "I don't know yet. But whatever it was, it made the Valyrian Empire completely abandon 17 star systems, systems that had been under their control for centuries. The communications technician suddenly straightened in his chair. Dr. Chen, the aliens' tactical channel. I'm getting bits and pieces. They're discussing threat assessment? Put it on speakers. Static filled the room, then alien voices speaking in their incomprehensible language. But underneath the foreign sounds, the meaning pressed itself into their minds. Terran system shows unusual energy patterns. Recommend increased caution. Species assessment incomplete. Perhaps we should delay until... The transmission cut off abruptly. Colonel Torres whistled low. They're scared. No, Sarah corrected, her mind racing. They're uncertain. There's a difference. She turned to Pavel. How long did you say until the package is ready? 3 days if we push hard. Make it 2. Sarah, that's impossible. Make it possible. Her voice carried an authority that surprised even her. Because I think Dr. Vasquez just figured out how we send our message to the entire galaxy. Elena looked confused. I did? Sarah's smile was sharp enough to cut diamond. You said the Valyrian Empire abandoned 17 star systems after something called the warning. What if we become that warning? Chapter 3. The Mathematics of Extinction. The package was beautiful in its simplicity. Dr. Chen stood in the launch chamber, watching technicians make final adjustments to humanity's last desperate gambit. It looked like nothing more than a sleek metallic cylinder, roughly the size of a telephone pole, mounted on a cobbled-together rocket system that would have made NASA engineers weep, but appearances were deceiving. Final systems check complete, announced Dr. Kozlov from his position at the control station. Fusion core stable. Navigation computer locked on target. Transmission array ready for activation. Colonel Torres joined Sarah at the observation window. You sure about this, Doc? Once we launch, there's no taking it back. Sarah watched the countdown timer in the corner of her vision. 4 hours, 23 minutes until the alien fleet reached Earth's orbit. I'm sure. Even if it works, they'll glass the planet in retaliation. Maybe. Or maybe they'll think twice about demanding tribute from species they don't understand. Torres was quiet for a moment. My daughter's in Beijing. She's 12 years old. Sarah felt the weight of 8 billion lives pressing down on her shoulders. What's her name? Anna. She wants to be an astronaut when she grows up. Torres laughed bitterly. Wanted to be. She still does, Sarah said firmly. And after today, she'll have a universe full of possibilities. The communications array crackled to life. Dr. Vasquez's voice echoed through the chamber. Sarah, we're receiving the final Valyrian transmission. They're demanding our surrender in 2 hours. Understood. Pavel, are we ready? The Russian physicist ran through his checklist one more time. All systems green. Warning beacon is programmed and ready for deployment. Sarah took a deep breath. Initiate launch sequence. Klaxons wailed throughout the facility as the massive blast doors began to open above them. Through the widening gap, Sarah could see the night sky and the ominous red dots of alien ships hanging like harbingers of doom among the stars. Launch in T-minus 60 seconds, announced the computer. Sarah activated her personal communicator, connecting to every facility involved in the project. This is Dr. Chen. All stations report. North Dakota facility ready. Siberian installation ready. Australian outpost ready. Brazilian complex ready. 12 facilities. 12 identical packages. 12 messages that would carry humanity's response to the farthest reaches of the galaxy. T-minus 30 seconds. Colonel Torres gripped the railing beside her. What if they shoot them down? They won't have time, Sarah replied. The packages will reach their targets in less than 30 seconds after launch. T-minus 10 seconds. Sarah closed her eyes and thought about every human being on Earth. 8 billion people going about their lives, most of them unaware that their fate was being decided in underground facilities scattered across the globe. T-minus 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Launch. The chamber shook as 12 rockets simultaneously lifted off from concealed silos around the world. On the main display, Sarah watched trajectories converge on their targets. The 12 alien warships hanging in space above Earth. Time to impact, 28 seconds, announced Pavel. Alien ships are responding, reported the communications officer. They're trying to target our packages with defensive systems. Sarah held her breath. Everything depended on the next few seconds. Impact in 10 seconds. Alien targeting systems they're having trouble locking on. Our packages are too small and too fast. The display showed 12 streaks of light racing toward 12 massive alien vessels. Impact in 3, 2, 1. The packages didn't explode when they hit the alien ships. They were never meant to. Instead, they attached themselves to the hull like metallic barnacles and began to broadcast, not to Earth, to the entire galaxy. Chapter 4. The Signal in. The message began as a simple mathematical progression, prime numbers, the universal language of intelligence. But as it continued, it became something else entirely. Dr. Chen watched the transmission displays with growing satisfaction as humanity's response propagated outward at the speed of light, carried by quantum entanglement boosters that would ensure the signal reached every corner of the galaxy within hours. Pavel, are you recording their reaction? The Russian physicist nodded grimly. Alien fleet is confused. They are attempting to remove packages, but fusion cores are hardened against external interference. On the main screen, they could see the alien ships through long-range telescopes. The massive vessels, each larger than a city, were now decorated with tiny metallic ornaments that pulsed with brilliant light every few seconds. What exactly are we broadcasting? Asked Colonel Torres. Sarah pulled up the transmission log on her tablet. The first part is basic mathematics and physics, proof that we understand the fundamental forces of the universe. The second part is a complete technical readout of our nuclear arsenal, including yield calculations and delivery methods. Torres frowned. That doesn't sound very threatening to ships that size. It's not meant to be. Keep listening. The transmission continued, detailing humanity's history of warfare, their capacity for violence, and their complete unwillingness to submit to any form of slavery or subjugation. But the real message came in the final section. We're broadcasting the exact location of every single star system in the Valerian Empire, Sarah explained. Every tributary world, every military installation, every supply depot, along with detailed technical specifications of their ships based on our sensor readings. Colonel Torres's eyes widened. How did we get all that intelligence? We didn't. We're making most of it up. Sarah's smile was cold. But the aliens don't know that. Dr. Vasquez's voice crackled over the intercom. Sarah, you need to see this. We're intercepting communications from the alien fleet. They're panicking. The translated alien chatter filled the chamber. How do they know about the Corvani sector? Impossible. That information is classified at highest levels. They know about the tribute processing centers. Abort mission. Return to fleet immediately. What about the tribute demand? Forget the tribute. We need to warn High Command. Sarah felt a surge of savage satisfaction. Pavel, how's the quantum entanglement network holding up? Signal strength at 97%. Message is propagating to approximately 14,000 star systems in local galactic arm. 14,000? Torres looked stunned. How many civilizations is that? Conservative estimate? Several million intelligent species. Sarah watched the alien ships on the display begin to change course, their massive forms slowly turning away from Earth. And every single one of them is now receiving detailed intelligence about Valerian Empire operations, along with a very simple message. What message? Sarah activated the final section of the broadcast and her own voice filled the chamber, speaking in clear, precise English that the translation matrix would convert into every known language in the galaxy. This is Dr. Sarah Chen, of the planet Earth, broadcasting on behalf of the human species. We have received a demand for tribute from the Valerian Empire. Our response is simple. We refuse. But more than that, we want every civilization in this galaxy to know exactly what the Valerian Empire has been doing to conquered worlds. The attached data contains locations of slave processing centers, tribute collection schedules, military patrol routes, and complete technical specifications of Valerian military hardware. We are transmitting this information freely to any species capable of receiving it. To the enslaved worlds under Valerian control, you are not alone. Resistance is possible. To free civilizations in the path of Valerian expansion, you have been warned. Prepare accordingly. To the Valerian Empire itself, you demanded tribute from Earth. Consider this our payment. We hope you find it educational. And to anyone else listening, this is what happens when you threaten humanity. We don't just fight back, we make sure the entire galaxy knows exactly who you are and what you've done. This message will repeat every hour for the next century. Broadcast from Quantum. Relays hidden throughout this solar system. Try to find them all. Earth out. The chamber fell silent except for the hum of electronics and the distant rumble of the facility's power generators. Colonel Torres was the first to speak. The alien ships are leaving. Sarah nodded, watching the massive vessels accelerate away from Earth with what could only be described as panic. They're not just leaving, they're running. But they'll be back, Torres pointed out. With a bigger fleet. Maybe, but they'll also have to deal with approximately 14,000 star systems that now know exactly where to find every Valerian military installation in the galaxy. Sarah's expression was grim but satisfied. We may have just started the largest rebellion in galactic history. Dr. Vasquez's excited voice burst through the intercom. Sarah, we're getting responses, dozens of them. Alien civilizations are acknowledging receipt of our transmission. Some of them are thanking us. Sarah felt a weight lift from her shoulders for the first time in days. Patch them through. The chamber filled with a cacophony of alien voices, each speaking in their own language but somehow understandable through the universal translation matrix. People of Earth, we are the Zephyrian Collective. Your warning has reached us, we stand with you. This is the Centauri Federation. The Valerian Empire enslaved our outer colonies. Thank you for this intelligence. Greetings from the Helix Syndicate. We have been fighting Valerian expansion for decades. Your data will save millions of lives. More voices joined the chorus, dozens becoming hundreds as alien civilizations across the galaxy acknowledged humanity's message. Sarah closed her eyes and listened to the sound of an entire galaxy waking up to the threat in their midst. When she opened them again, Colonel Torres was staring at her with something approaching awe. Doc, what have we done? Sarah looked up at the night sky through the open blast doors, where the red dots of the alien fleet were already fading into the distance. We sent a message, she said quietly. And I think the universe heard us loud and clear. Epilogue. The Ripple Effect. 6 months later. Dr. Sarah Chen stood in the newly constructed Global Communications Center, watching data streams from across the galaxy flow across dozens of monitors. The facility had been built with technology shared by their new alien allies, species who had received humanity's warning and chosen to act on it. Daily intelligence briefing is ready, announced Commander Torres, who had been promoted after the successful defense of Earth. You're going to want to see this. Sarah accepted the tablet and scrolled through the latest reports. The Valerian Empire was in full retreat across 17 sectors. 3 tributary worlds had successfully revolted, using the military intelligence from Earth's broadcast to target key installations. The Helix Syndicate had liberated 2 slave processing centers. The Centauri Federation had destroyed an entire Valerian patrol fleet, and it was all just the beginning. Any word from the Empire itself? Sarah asked. Torres grinned. Actually, yes. We received what appears to be a formal diplomatic message this morning. She activated the main display, and alien text appeared on screen, its meaning pressing directly into their consciousness. The Valerian Empire formally withdraws all territorial claims to the Terran system. The species known as humans are hereby classified as inadvisable to contact. Sarah couldn't help but laugh. Inadvisable to contact? Gets better, Torres continued. According to our Zephyrian allies, the Empire has issued galaxy-wide warnings to all their military units. Earth is now officially classified as a Class 12 diplomatic hazard. What does that mean? It means that any Valerian commander who even approaches our solar system without explicit authorization from their High Council will be court-martialed and executed. Sarah shook her head in amazement. We've become the galaxy's diplomatic equivalent of a nuclear waste dump. There's more. Remember Dr. Vasquez's research on those 17 abandoned star systems? The ones where the Empire retreated after something called the Warning? Sarah nodded. Turns out we're not the first species to pull something like this. About 300 years ago, a civilization called the Korathi did something similar. Broadcast Valerian military secrets across the galaxy when they were threatened with tribute demands. What happened to them? Tora's expression grew serious. They survived. More than that, they thrived. The Korathi are now one of the major galactic powers, and they've been quietly building a coalition of species dedicated to opposing Valerian expansion. Sarah felt a chill of anticipation. Are you saying what I think you're saying? We got a message from the Korathi High Council this morning. They want to meet. Before Sarah could respond, alarms began chiming throughout the facility. But these weren't warning alarms. They were the gentle tones that indicated an incoming friendly transmission. Dr. Chen called out one of the communications officers. We're receiving a priority message from the Zephyrian Collective. They're requesting permission to establish a permanent embassy on Earth. Another officer spoke up. The Centauri Federation is asking if we'd be interested in a technology exchange program. The Helix Syndicate wants to discuss joint military operations, added a third. Sarah looked around the bustling communications center, filled with humans working alongside holographic representations of a dozen different alien species. 6 months ago, humanity had been alone in the universe, facing extinction at the hands of a galactic empire. Now they were at the center of the largest anti-imperial coalition in galactic history. Commander Torres, she said quietly. Yes, ma'am? I want you to prepare a response to all of these diplomatic overtures. Accept them all. Torres raised an eyebrow. All of them? That's going to make Earth the unofficial capital of the resistance movement. Sarah looked up at the display showing real-time star maps of the galaxy, where green indicators now marked the growing number of worlds that had joined the coalition against Valerian expansion. Red zones showed former Empire territory now in open revolt. And at the center of it all, a small blue dot marked Earth, the world that had refused to kneel. Good, she said firmly. Let the Empire see what happens when you corner a species that would rather burn down the galaxy than submit to slavery. She activated her personal communicator, connecting to every human settlement in the solar system, from the moon bases to the Mars colonies to the research stations in the asteroid belt. This is Dr. Sarah Chen broadcasting from Earth. 6 months ago, an alien empire demanded tribute from our world. They wanted us to hand over 1 billion human beings to serve as slaves in their empire. Our answer was simple. We said no. But we didn't stop there. We made sure the entire galaxy knew exactly what kind of monsters they were dealing with. Today, that empire is in full retreat. Dozens of enslaved worlds have broken free. Hundreds of civilizations have joined together to oppose tyranny wherever it rears its ugly head. And it all started because humanity refused to kneel. To every human listening to this broadcast, be proud. When faced with extinction, we chose defiance. When threatened with slavery, we chose freedom. And when an empire demanded our submission, we brought them to their knees instead. The galaxy is a different place now. A better place. And that's because when the universe needed someone to stand up to the bullies, humanity stepped forward and said 2 simple words. Try us. The Valerian Empire learned the hard way what those words mean. Any other would-be conquerors out there should consider themselves warned. This is Earth, broadcasting to the galaxy. We're still here, we're still free, and we're not going anywhere. Thank you for listening. As the transmission ended, Sarah looked out through the facility's windows at the night sky above Earth. Somewhere among those stars, alien civilizations were receiving her message. Some were allies, some were enemies, and some were neutral observers waiting to see which way the galactic winds would blow. But all of them now knew one thing for certain: humanity was not to be underestimated. The universe had demanded tribute from Earth. Earth's answer had shaken the galaxy to its core, and this was only the beginning. End of The Empire Demanded Tribute. Earth's Answer. Run while you still can.